What if the life you're living isn't really yours, but a reflection of who the world told you to be? Authenticity doesn't begin with what you do, it begins with why you exist. The masks you wear may protect you, but they also hide you from your true self. When you begin the journey of understanding yourself at the deepest level, the very first question that must be asked is not "what do I want?" or "what should I do?" but rather "why am I here?" This question has lived at the center of every great transformation in human history. It is not a question the mind alone can answer, because the mind will search through familiar memories, past achievements, or external desires. But the why that awakens authenticity is not built on surface-level definitions. It is something deeper, something ancient within you, something that exists beneath your stories, roles, and identities. It is the compass of your existence, and until you reconnect with it, you will always feel a subtle pull, an incompleteness, as if something essential is missing. The power of your why is that it does not change with trends, environments, or circumstances. While careers shift, relationships evolve, and seasons of life come and go, your why remains steady, like a current running beneath the river of time. When you touch it, you begin to realize that authenticity is not something you create, but something you uncover. Every action, every choice, every decision that arises from your why carries with it a resonance, an energy that feels undeniably true. In that moment, you no longer need to convince anyone of who you are, because your presence itself speaks with clarity. Think of how many people live without ever asking this question. They run from task to task, goal to goal, constantly busy but not necessarily fulfilled. They may collect achievements, wealth, or recognition, yet still feel an emptiness inside. This emptiness comes from the absence of a deeper why, because without it, every pursuit becomes a chase after temporary satisfaction, something that fades once achieved, leaving behind the need for more. The why, on the other hand, anchors you to meaning. It transforms the most ordinary action into something extraordinary, because now it carries purpose. When you truly know your why, life begins to reorganize around it. Choices that once created confusion become clear. Opportunities that do not align with your truth begin to fall away, and you no longer feel the need to hold on to them. Your why acts as a filter, allowing you to move through life with integrity. And integrity is the foundation of authenticity, because it means that the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you act are all in harmony with the deepest part of yourself. But finding your why is not about looking outside of you. It is not hidden in another person's approval, in societal expectations, or in external accomplishments. It is discovered in silence, in reflection, in those moments when you turn inward and allow yourself to listen. The mind will often resist this process, because the mind prefers certainty, control, and logic. The why, however, lives beyond logic. It lives in the language of the heart, in intuition, in the quiet knowing that cannot always be explained, but can always be felt. Perhaps you have already experienced glimpses of it. A moment when you felt fully alive, fully aligned, where what you were doing matched exactly who you were inside. Time disappeared, energy flowed, and you felt connected to something greater than yourself. Those glimpses are windows into your why. The more you allow yourself to notice them, the more you begin to weave them into the fabric of your life. And with each step closer, you feel authenticity rising, not as an act you perform, but as a natural state of being. The power of your why also liberates you from comparison. When you are grounded in your deeper purpose, you no longer measure your worth against others, because your why is uniquely yours. No one else can live it, no one else can take it, and no one else can define it. It is like a fingerprint imprinted in your soul, guiding your path in a way that no external standard ever could. This is why authenticity becomes effortless when you know your why, because you are no longer trying to fit into someone else's mold. You are simply becoming what you were always meant to be. And yet, there is a paradox. Many people resist asking this question because they fear what they will discover. They worry that if they uncover their true why, it might require them to change, to let go of things that no longer align, or to step into the unknown. But the unknown is not to be feared, because it is in the unknown that new possibilities are born. Your why is not here to limit you, it is here to expand you. It is not here to take away what matters, it is here to refine it, to strip away what is false, so only what is true remains. When you operate from this space, every action carries power. Conversations deepen, connections strengthen, creativity flows, and your energy feels boundless. This is because you are no longer wasting energy pretending, hiding, or conforming. You are no longer scattering your attention in directions that drain you. Instead, you are focused, aligned, intentional, and this energy becomes magnetic, drawing to you the people, opportunities, and experiences that resonate with your authenticity. The power of your why is the foundation of every authentic life. Without it, authenticity is a mask that eventually slips. With it, authenticity is a light that never fades. It is the source of clarity, courage, and alignment. It is the root from which your authentic self grows and the beginning of everything true you will ever create in this life. From the time we are children, we are conditioned to seek approval. We learn that if we behave a certain way, we will be rewarded, and if we don't, we risk rejection. This conditioning shapes us so deeply that by the time we step into adulthood, most of our choices are subtly influenced by what others will think. We begin to measure our worth based on how we are perceived, how many people recognize us, or how many voices praise our actions. Yet the pursuit of external validation is a fragile and endless cycle, because no matter how much approval we gain, it never fully satisfies the longing to feel whole inside. Authenticity cannot live in the shadows of other people's opinions, because authenticity emerges only when we free ourselves from the illusion that our value is determined by anyone outside of us. When you live your life through the lens of external validation, you create a self that is not truly yours. You begin to wear masks to fit in, to be accepted, to avoid criticism. You say yes when you want to say no, you hold back when you want to express, and you shrink your truth in order to maintain peace or preserve an image. This way of living may provide temporary comfort, but it also breeds quiet resentment and disconnection. Over time, the gap between who you are inside and who you present to the world grows wider until you barely recognize yourself. This disconnection is the root of anxiety, stress, and inner conflict, because the soul longs for congruence while the ego strives for approval. The illusion of external validation lies in its temporary nature. The praise you receive today can easily become criticism tomorrow. The applause fades as soon as the performance ends, leaving you searching for the next way to earn recognition. You become a prisoner of other people's shifting perceptions, and your identity is built on unstable ground. The deeper truth is that no amount of approval can ever substitute for the internal knowing of your own worth. External voices may affirm you, but if you have not anchored yourself in your why, those affirmations will feel hollow. They will give you a fleeting sense of importance, but not the enduring stability of authenticity. There comes a moment when you must realize that the need for validation is not a reflection of your unworthiness, but a reflection of your conditioning. You were taught to seek it, just as others before you were taught the same. But the moment you begin to question it, you reclaim your power. You begin to see that your worth is not something to be earned, performed, or negotiated. It is something inherent, unchanging, and independent of anyone else's opinion. This realization is the first step in breaking free from the illusion. Authenticity requires courage, because the moment you stop living for approval, you risk standing out. You risk being misunderstood. You risk not being liked by everyone. But the truth is, you will never be universally liked, no matter how hard you try. There will always be voices of criticism, always be people who cannot see you clearly, always be judgments that do not reflect your truth. The difference is whether you allow those voices to dictate your life, or whether you choose to live from the inside out. When you choose the latter, you discover a freedom that no amount of validation could ever give you. When you no longer chase external validation, something shifts in your energy. Instead of striving to prove, you begin to embody. Instead of forcing connection, you attract it. People sense authenticity because it carries a resonance that is undeniable. It is not about pleasing, it is about being. And when you are rooted in being, you no longer feel drained by the constant effort of performance. You show up as yourself, fully, without the need to mask or adjust depending on who is watching. This consistency becomes a source of strength, because it means that your identity is no longer fragile, but anchored in truth. It is important to recognize how deeply ingrained this pattern of validation seeking is. It may show up in subtle ways, checking your phone repeatedly for responses, adjusting your appearance for approval, doubting yourself when feedback is missing. These habits are not weaknesses, they are signals. They reveal where you have placed your sense of worth in the hands of others rather than in your own alignment. Each time you notice them, you are being invited to redirect your attention inward, to ask yourself whether the action you are taking arises from your why or from the desire to be seen. The illusion of external validation also impacts relationships. When you seek constant affirmation from others, your connections become transactional. You are no longer relating from authenticity, but from need. This creates pressure on those around you, and it also prevents true intimacy from forming, because intimacy requires vulnerability, and vulnerability cannot exist when you are hiding behind the mask of approval. But when you begin to validate yourself from within, relationships transform. You no longer depend on others to make you feel worthy. Instead, you enter into connection from a place of wholeness. From there, you can give without condition and receive without fear, because your worth is not on the line. The path of authenticity asks you to release the illusion that you must earn your place in the world through recognition. It asks you to see that you were already whole before anyone acknowledged you, that your existence alone is proof of worthiness. When you align with your why, you tap into a wellspring of inner validation that never runs dry. You no longer need the world to tell you who you are, because you already know. You no longer fear rejection, because you are no longer rejecting yourself. You no longer crave applause, because your fulfillment comes from the resonance of living in truth. And though the mind may resist, though the ego may protest, the deeper part of you already knows this to be true. It knows that external validation is an illusion, a fleeting echo of something much greater. It knows that real authenticity begins not when others see you, but when you truly see yourself. There is a unique power that arises when your thoughts, feelings, and actions begin to move in harmony with one another. It is a power that cannot be fabricated or imitated, because it does not come from effort, it comes from alignment. To be aligned means that you are no longer fractured inside. It means that the stories you tell yourself, the emotions you carry, and the choices you make are no longer at war with each other. They are working together, flowing in the same direction, creating a field of energy that others can sense without you needing to say a word. This is the energy of authenticity, and it becomes possible only when you live in accordance with your why. Most people live in some form of internal contradiction. They think one thing, feel another, and then act in ways that do not reflect either. They may dream of freedom, but remain bound by fear. They may long for love, but close their hearts. They may desire success, but sabotage themselves through doubt. This fragmentation creates tension inside the body and the mind. It drains energy, breeds confusion, and keeps you locked in cycles of frustration. Alignment is the antidote to this fragmentation, because it integrates the different parts of you into one unified expression of truth. When your why becomes your compass, alignment begins to unfold naturally. Instead of chasing endless possibilities or scattering your attention, you gain clarity. Every thought you entertain is guided by purpose. Every emotion you nurture reflects truth, and every action you take becomes an extension of your inner alignment. This creates a flow state where you feel lighter, clearer, and more present. You begin to notice that life itself seems to support you, as if doors open more easily, opportunities find you, and synchronicities appear with greater frequency. This is not coincidence, it is coherence. The inner state of alignment magnetizes experiences that mirror the energy you are radiating. Think of alignment as a frequency. When you are tuned into your why, your entire being vibrates at that frequency. The people who resonate with it are naturally drawn to you, while those who do not are gently filtered out. This is why authenticity has a magnetic quality. It does not demand attention, it attracts it. You do not need to prove your worth or convince others of your value. You simply radiate the energy of someone who knows who they are and lives accordingly, and that energy speaks louder than words. The energy of alignment also transforms the way you experience challenges. In misalignment, obstacles feel heavy and overwhelming because you are fighting against yourself as well as the circumstances around you. But when you are aligned, challenges are no longer threats to your identity. They become opportunities to deepen your authenticity, to refine your why, and to expand your capacity. You face them not from a place of fear or resistance, but from clarity and trust, and because of this, you move through them with more ease, grace, and resilience. Living in alignment does not mean that life becomes free of difficulties. It means that difficulties no longer fracture you. They no longer shake your sense of self, because your identity is not built on unstable foundations. It is rooted in purpose. When your why anchors you, even in the storm, you feel a deeper calm. You trust that the storm is shaping you, that it is realigning you more deeply with what matters most. This trust is itself a form of energy, and it radiates outward, creating stability not only for yourself, but for those around you. There is also a profound physiological impact of alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are coherent, your body responds. Stress levels decrease, creativity increases, and energy flows more freely. Your nervous system shifts out of survival mode and into a state of balance because it no longer perceives internal conflict. This coherence between the mind, heart, and body is the biological expression of authenticity. It is the physical manifestation of living in your why. You begin to feel more alive, more energized, more connected, because you are no longer wasting energy on pretending, hiding, or resisting. In relationships, alignment changes everything. When you are aligned, you no longer compromise your truth in order to be accepted. You no longer need to manipulate or control others to get what you want. Instead, you show up with clarity and honesty, allowing others to meet you where you truly are. This creates deeper, more authentic connections because people can sense the integrity behind your words and actions. And while not everyone will resonate with this energy, those who do will be drawn closer, creating bonds built on truth rather than performance. Perhaps the most liberating aspect of alignment is the peace it brings. Peace is not the absence of noise or chaos. It is the presence of harmony within yourself. It is knowing that you are living in accordance with what is real for you. Even if others disagree, even if circumstances are uncertain, you carry a sense of stability because you are aligned with your inner compass. This peace is not something that can be given or taken by others because it does not depend on external conditions. It arises solely from the energy of alignment within you. The energy of alignment is the bridge between inner authenticity and outer expression. It is the state in which your why is not just an idea you think about, but a reality you embody. It is the invisible force that organizes your life, shapes your experiences, and creates the resonance that others feel when they are around you. And once you taste this energy, once you experience what it feels like to live from that place, you realize that nothing else compares, because nothing else feels as true from the earliest moments of life. We begin to learn who we are not by turning inward, but by observing the world around us. We absorb the expectations of parents, teachers, friends, and society. We learn what is acceptable and what is not, what earns praise and what provokes criticism, what keeps us safe and what exposes us to rejection. Without realizing it, we begin to shape ourselves according to these external cues. Piece by piece, a false identity is constructed, an identity made of masks, roles, and performances that serve to protect us, but also distance us from our authentic self. These masks may help us navigate the world, but they come at the cost of our truth. Over time, the mask begins to feel so familiar that we mistake it for who we really are. Yet deep down, there is always a quiet sense of dissonance, a whisper reminding us that the image we project is not the full expression of who we came here to be. The habit of false identity becomes so ingrained because it is reinforced at every stage of life. As children, we may learn that being quiet and agreeable earns us love, so we suppress our natural curiosity or assertiveness. As teenagers, we may discover that blending in keeps us from ridicule, so we mute our uniqueness. As adults, we may find that playing the role of the successful professional, the dutiful parent, or the socially acceptable friend keeps us respected, so we cling to those identities even when they feel hollow. Each mask serves a purpose at one point in time, but when it becomes a permanent fixture, it locks us in a cage of our own making. The tragedy is not that we wear masks, but that we forget we are wearing them. Breaking the habit of false identity begins with awareness. It requires the courage to look honestly at the roles you play and ask yourself if they are truly aligned with your why, or if they are merely performances designed to maintain acceptance. This is not an easy process because the ego clings tightly to the masks it has created. The ego fears rejection, judgment, and loss of control, and so it convinces you that the mask is necessary for survival. But survival and authenticity are not the same. Survival keeps you safe, authenticity sets you free. When you start to see the difference, you begin the process of dismantling the layers of false identity that keep you from living as your truest self. The dismantling does not happen all at once. It is a process of noticing when you are acting from a place of fear or approval, seeking rather than truth. It is catching yourself when you silence your voice to avoid conflict, when you exaggerate your image to impress, when you conform to expectations that suffocate your spirit. Each of these moments is an opportunity to pause and ask, what would I choose if I were not afraid? What would I express if I trusted that my authenticity was enough? These questions begin to weaken the grip of the false identity and invite your authentic self to step forward. As you peel away the layers of false identity, you may feel vulnerable. Vulnerability arises because the masks once acted as shields, protecting you from judgment and rejection. Without them, you feel exposed, but this exposure is not weakness, it is strength. Vulnerability is the birthplace of authenticity because it is the moment when you stop hiding and begin to show up as you are. And while not everyone will accept this version of you, those who do will connect with you on a deeper, truer level. In this way, breaking the habit of false identity not only liberates you but also reshapes the relationships in your life. There is also a deeper cost to wearing masks that must be acknowledged. The longer you live behind a false identity, the more disconnected you become from your inner compass. Decisions are made not from your why, but from the desire to preserve an image. This creates a life that may appear successful on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. It is a life built on appearances rather than essence, performance rather than presence. Many people reach a point of crisis before realizing this truth. They may achieve all the markers of external success and still feel unfulfilled because the self they have been feeding is not their authentic self, but a fabricated one. Breaking this cycle means daring to step into the unknown, because authenticity does not come with a script. The false identity thrives on predictability, but authenticity thrives on presence. To live authentically, you must let go of rigid roles and embrace the fluidity of becoming. You must be willing to surprise yourself, to allow parts of you that were once hidden to emerge. This is not about rejecting everything you have been, but about discerning which parts are true and which are masks. Some roles may still align with your why, while others must be released. The key is not to eliminate identity, but to refine it, so that what remains is an authentic reflection of your inner truth. This process is not only personal, but energetic. When you carry a false identity, your energy feels scattered and heavy because you are constantly managing impressions and suppressing authenticity. When you release the masks, your energy becomes coherent, lighter, and more magnetic. Others can feel the shift because authenticity resonates at a frequency that is undeniable. This is why some people seem to carry a presence that cannot be explained. They are not performing, they are aligned. Their authenticity radiates naturally, and it creates an atmosphere of trust and openness wherever they go. The habit of false identity is deeply human, but it is not unbreakable. Each time you choose to align with your why rather than your mask, you strengthen the muscles of authenticity. Each time you honor your truth rather than conform to expectations, you reclaim another piece of yourself. This reclamation is the essence of becoming whole. It is the journey of moving from a life lived for approval to a life lived in truth, from wearing masks to embodying essence, from survival to authenticity. When you begin to live from a place of authenticity, something profound shifts in the way you experience reality itself. Authenticity is not simply a moral quality or a social virtue. It is an energetic state of coherence where your inner truth meets your outer expression. It is the alignment of your why with the way you think, feel, and act, and when this alignment takes root, the world around you begins to respond in kind. Life feels different because you are no longer approaching it from fragmentation or pretense. You are meeting it with wholeness. From that wholeness, you see more clearly, act with greater confidence, and create outcomes that reflect your deeper purpose. Authenticity becomes a lens through which reality is experienced, and that lens alters everything. At the heart of this transformation lies the fact that reality is not neutral, it is responsive. It mirrors back to you the energy you bring to it. When you live behind masks or false identities, reality reflects confusion, resistance, and dissonance. You may notice relationships that feel draining, opportunities that fall apart, or circumstances that feel misaligned. This is not because life is working against you, but because you are not showing up in truth. When the energy you project is inconsistent, the reality you attract will also feel inconsistent. The moment you begin to live authentically, that inconsistency dissolves. You begin to notice synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, and opportunities that feel tailor-made for who you truly are. It is as though reality itself reorganizes to support the version of you that is aligned with your why. Living authentically also changes the way you perceive challenges. Inauthentic living makes every difficulty feel like a threat because it threatens the fragile identity you are working so hard to maintain. But when you are authentic, challenges lose their power to define you. Instead, they become experiences that refine you. They are no longer evidence of inadequacy, but invitations to grow more deeply into your truth. This shift in perception is transformative because it allows you to meet obstacles with curiosity rather than fear. You begin to see that even the most difficult experiences can serve your evolution when you are living from authenticity. The transformation extends into relationships. When you live authentically, you stop seeking connections that are built on performance or validation. You stop molding yourself to be what others want and instead allow yourself to be fully seen. This creates relationships of depth and honesty. Some people will fall away when you choose this path because they were attached to the mask rather than the real you. But those who remain and those who enter your life will be drawn to your authenticity. They will resonate with your presence because it reflects truth, and truth has a magnetic quality. These connections become more nourishing and fulfilling because they are rooted not in pretense but in alignment. Living authentically also transforms your sense of freedom. When you are not authentic, you spend enormous amounts of energy managing appearances, censoring your voice, and suppressing your desires. This creates a constant undercurrent of tension, even if it is not always visible on the surface. But when you choose authenticity, that tension begins to dissolve. You no longer waste energy pretending to be someone you are not. Instead, that energy becomes available for creativity, passion, and presence. This is why authenticity feels liberating, because it frees the life force that was once tied up in maintaining illusions. Freedom is not something you find outside of yourself. It is something you create when you live in harmony with your why. There is also a deep sense of peace that comes with authenticity. Peace does not mean that life becomes free of conflict or uncertainty, but it means that you no longer create conflict within yourself. The battle between who you are and who you pretend to be ends. Your inner world grows quiet because you are no longer resisting your own truth. This peace radiates outward, influencing the way you respond to situations, the way you engage with others, and the way you create. It becomes the foundation of resilience because when you are at peace within yourself, external storms cannot easily shake you. Authenticity also transforms your creative power. Creativity is not limited to artistic expression. It is the act of bringing new realities into existence. When you are authentic, creativity flows naturally because you are no longer suppressing your ideas or doubting your worth. You allow inspiration to move through you without filtering it through the lens of fear or approval. This openness to expression allows you to innovate, to solve problems in new ways, and to contribute to the world from a place of originality. The world does not need more copies of what already exists. It needs the unique expression of your why. Living authentically ensures that your contributions are not just repetitions of the familiar, but authentic imprints of your being. The transformation even touches the way you experience time. When you are not authentic, time often feels heavy and constricting. You may feel rushed, pressured, or bored because you are not engaged with life in a meaningful way. But when you live authentically, time feels different. You enter states of flow where hours pass like minutes because you are fully absorbed in what you are doing. You are no longer counting down the hours but expanding within them. This is the timeless quality of authenticity, where presence replaces distraction and engagement replaces restlessness. On the deepest level, living authentically transforms your sense of self. Instead of identifying with the roles you play or the masks you wear, you begin to identify with the essence of who you are. This essence is not fragile, it does not depend on external validation, and it does not change with circumstances. It is constant, steady, and unshakable. From this place, your confidence is no longer bravado but quiet assurance. Your power is no longer control but presence. Your success is no longer defined by external standards but by the alignment of your life with your why. To live authentically is to participate in the ongoing creation of reality in its most conscious form. It is to understand that your life is not just happening to you, but through you. Each thought, each word, each action that arises from your authenticity carries a ripple effect into the world. Those ripples shape not only your own reality, but the realities of those you touch. In this way, living authentically is not just a personal act, but a collective contribution. It is a way of embodying truth so fully that the world itself is transformed by your presence. Authenticity is not a destination you arrive at, but a state of being you return to again and again. It begins with uncovering your why, that inner compass that gives direction to your life. From there, you start to recognize the illusions that have shaped you, the patterns of external validation that once dictated your choices, and the masks of false identity that kept you from your essence. With each layer you shed, alignment grows stronger. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to flow in harmony with your why, creating an energy that others can feel, an energy that draws opportunities, relationships, and experiences that mirror your truth. This journey is not always easy because it requires courage to step away from old identities, to face the discomfort of vulnerability, and to embrace the unknown. Yet, it is in this very process of unbecoming what you are not that you discover the power of who you are. Living authentically transforms not only the way you experience yourself, but also the way you shape reality. Challenges become pathways, relationships deepen, creativity expands, and a profound sense of freedom and peace emerges. To live authentically is to honor the truth that has always been within you. It is to stop performing for approval and start embodying purpose. It is to remember that your worth has never been dependent on how others see you, but on the alignment of your life with the essence of who you truly are. When you choose authenticity, you are not just transforming your own existence. You are sending ripples into the world, inviting others to do the same, and together, creating a reality built not on illusion, but on truth.